Can I give a quick shout out real quick?
Please.
Let's go Yankees. Chase for 28.
True. Not that odd. That's like room temp take, but that's all right.
Oh, where's Shohei gonna go?
Obviously, I'm no GM or no Major League Baseball owner, but if I were,
As always, go M's.
I can pronounce it however I want until he tells me personally when he comes and joins the pod as a friend of the pod.
What's good, everybody? We appreciate you stopping by and checking out the Broken Bat podcast. My name is J Rob. We got Casey, we got Peter, and we're ready to talk about some baseball. Won't jump into it too quick because that's my boy Casey's job, but before we pass it off to him, we're going to pass it off to my boy Peter. Peter, what you got?
So, as everyone knows, we are on Instagram and Twitter at the Broken Bat Pod with no spaces in there. Exciting news for anybody following along. You can see our beautiful smiling faces on YouTube now. You just search the Broken Bat Podcast, which should be the first thing that pops up. So go ahead and check us out on there if you were interested. We also have an email, thebrokenbatpodcast@gmail.com. Love to have you guys interact with us on any of those platforms. Give us some feedback. Let us know what you're thinking, what you're feeling. If you think we sound great, smart, think Casey's hot takes are insane like me and J-Rob do, whatever feedback you got for us would be fantastic. And also, if you can give us a follow on whatever platform you listen, it does help a lot, so we would greatly appreciate that. Casey, let them know what we're talking about.
Peter's favorite night of the week. Power rankings and Peter's performing player.
Let's go, baby. So I'm talking about this honestly, Peter, I don't know if this is for sure your favorite night of the week, but this is honestly one of my favorite topics to talk about is the power rankings because I think it's so I don't know the word I'm thinking of, but like every person can have their own opinion. Like literally I'll have my power rankings, you guys will have your power rankings in all the orders, and we can argue for why we put some teams over others. And who's wrong? Who's to tell us any of us are wrong?
Usually
except
Casey.
Yeah, well, that's where I was going. I was like, when Casey literally put the Mariners number one about 3 weeks ago, and they're literally in MLB's power rankings this last week, number 21. But hey, Casey, you're one ahead of the Cardinals. So before we jump into ours real quick, I'm just going to read through super quick what MLB's power rankings are. I mean, we don't base our power rankings, or at least I don't think either of you guys base your power rankings necessarily off of these, but we pull MLB's power rankings, ESPN's power rankings, and then CBS, they do power. I mean, there's a bunch of different players, but also, or places that do power rankings, but also CBS, just to kind of get a general sense of like where different people are kind of putting different teams or whatever, just to kind of gauge as well where we're at, where we're putting these teams. And I think especially this week, there's, with one team in particular, everyone has this team lower, like a higher number, so not as high, not as good as we do. So I'm excited to get into that, see who that team is. If you guys think you know who that team is, go ahead, give a guess. But we're going to get into it. But reading these power rankings super quick, there's no change in the top two spots, being the Rays number one, the Braves number two. Rounding out the rest of the top five is Blue Jays, Brewers, and the Orioles. Blue Jays and the Orioles both moved up 4 spots. Brewers were consistent with last week being number 4. Number 6 through 10 is Astros, Pirates, Mets, Twins, Rangers. Astros were number 6, staying consistent. Everyone else moved a little bit. 11 through 15, Dodgers, Yankees, D-backs, Padres, and Phillies. 16 through 20 is Cubs, Guardians, Marlins, Angels, Red Sox. 21 through 30, Mariners, Cardinals, Giants, Reds, Tigers, Rockies, Nationals, White Sox, Royals, Athletics. One place I'm going to start, I want to go to before we jump into our top 10s. The bottom 3 teams, really bottom 4 teams, every single week
Are sanctioned MLB teams.
Are sanctioned MLB teams, but have been pretty much in different orders almost every week, except the Athletics have been like every single week the worst team pretty much. The Athletics, the Royals, the Nationals, and the Rockies, all 4 of those are usually somewhere in there. This week, the White Sox, literally ranked number 28th according to MLB Power Rankings. Well, according to MLB.com, the MLB Power Rankings have the White Sox at number 28. Which, I mean, there's some other teams, don't get me wrong, the Cardinals and Mariners are doing terrible, all that good stuff. Yankees are subpar, but that is... I honestly think, I mean, the Cardinals are really bad and give them a run for their money, but I think the White Sox, and let me know if you guys disagree, the biggest disappointment of the season so far.
Cardinals.
Do you think it's Cardinals?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, the White Sox were expected to be like, all right, but the Cardinals were the pick to win their division.
You don't think the White Sox were the pick to win the AL Central?
No, I'd say
No.
Twins were most people's. Twins are Guardians.
Oof.
I mean, I think the White Sox were like maybe in the discussion, but I don't think they were anyone's or most people's pick. Whereas I think the Cardinals were the pick with the Brewers as the backup. So
I don't know. I mean, yeah, but the White Sox are just terrible though at 28. So are the Cardinals. So don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to make it to where the Cardinals aren't that bad. But
my disappointment of the year is the Mariners.
LOL. Well, Casey, give me your top 10 or however you want to do that. What are your power rankings looking like?
I'm gonna go odds and evens.
No.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go 10 through 1. I have the Astros, Dodgers, Twins, Blue Jays, Brewers, 10 through 6. Then 5 through 1, I have Rangers, Braves, Orioles, J-Robs, Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Rays.
Okay. Peter, what about you? Or, well, first, do you have any questions for Casey about that, or do you want to get into yours first?
I think it's pretty respectable. It's pretty similar to my list. I was expecting the Mariners to make an appearance when we got to the top 3, but we cooled down a little bit.
That's a different power rankings I have.
I'm thinking the third favorite team after the Cubs and the Pirates.
I can tell you this other power rankings.
No, we don't need to go there.
We'll come back to that if we need to.
Yeah.
So my top 10 is very similar, but I wanted to give a shout out to the Marlins. They're my number 10 team because they're performing pretty well, and I like seeing teams that aren't necessarily expected to perform well. I don't know how much longer they're going to be keeping it up this season, so I wanted to get them in. So shout out the Marlins. And I got Dodgers at number 9. Performing better, starting to look kind of like you expect the Dodgers to look. We got the Brewers coming in at number 8. We got the Twins at number 7. Blue Jays at number 6. Rangers at number 5. Orioles at 4. The exact same top 3 as Casey. Oh, never mind. He had the Orioles ahead of the Braves. Interesting. Braves at number 3. Pirates at number 2. Rays at number 1. So that is my top 10.
Very nice. I'll read off my top 10 real quick, and then we will go from there. All right, number 1, I have the Rays. LOL, gave it away. I just gave that away because we all have the same number 1. Now I'm going to go 10. I'm going to pull a Pete, go 10 through 2. Okay. Number 10 is the Mets. 9, Twins. Rangers at 8. Astros at 7. Orioles at 6. Brewers at 5. Pirates at 4. Blue Jays at 3, Braves at 2, and like I said, Rays at number 1. So as I was alluding to at the beginning of the episode, the number or the team, you guys both had the Pirates at number 2. I had them at number 4, but according to MLB, they're number 7. And that's the most recent. That came out on Sunday, April 30th, their power rankings. On April 27th, ESPN had the Pirates at 14. And then CBS, they came out on the 24th, so almost a week ago. They had the Pirates at, they're down here. Oh, they had them at 13. But all of those are a lot further than, like, we put them a lot higher than any of those power rankings. Why do you guys put the Pirates so high? And why do you think any of those, like MLB.com, ESPN, CBS, why don't they have the Pirates so high?
I mean, it's downright disrespectful, and I'm looking at you, ESPN. You guys are so pretentious and you can just create power rankings how you please. No, the
I mean,
Pirates.
that's exactly how power rankings work, but otherwise they'd just be standings.
You can't tell me that the Pirates are not deserving of number what 2, 3, 4. You can't tell me that shit, okay? And here's what I'm gonna tell you: the Braves. Everyone's like, "Oh, the Braves are they're the favorites to win the NL." Oh, well, this X, Y. No, bullshit. Shut the hell up. The Buccos are doing what no National League team has done thus far. First to 20 games. Don't even give me this bullshit that everybody needs to schedule. They are a sanctioned Major League Baseball team. They're red hot. Those boys are fired up. You know, Captain Kutch is leading that damn ship to the promised land. Give them their respect. Mic drop.
I
And yeah,
mean,
he threw the pin down. You
he did. If you, so yeah, I'm shocked to not like. I can see them having them in that. Like I, put them number 2 personally, but I can see having them anywhere inside the top 5. But it does blow my mind that they're not um in the top 5 in those other ones. Like I get because they did jump a bunch of spots this week, so they're moving up. So I think next week when we go back over this, if they keep it up, they'll be higher and kind of start getting the respect. So I think it's kind of like we're not
just
going to jump
delayed.
you from number 20 to number 3,
Yeah.
So I think they're kind of waiting just because of like what expectations were, what it was looking like. Shot the number 20 though. I mean, the Braves did have 2 games right now this weekend, so they definitely could have won both of those. So it's not necessarily just because the Pirates are the first to 20 wins, but they've also played, 2 more games than the Braves because the Braves had 2 postponements this weekend. So, the Braves could have been at 20 by this point, potentially, depending on how those 2 games went, because they won the other 2 games versus the Mets. So you never know about that. But it shocks me that they're not at least top 5 in those other rankings by the so-called professionals.
Yeah. I think one thing as well, just looking ahead to this week for the Pirates, they play Tampa Bay and then Toronto, and then they play Colorado, and then they play the Orioles. 3 out of those 4 teams are super good, and pretty much all 3 of those teams are in our top 10, if not like top 5. Not all of them, but like the Orioles are top 5 for all of us. Blue Jays are top 10 for all of us. And then Rays are all number 1 for all of us. So, like, top 7 is the worst for the Blue Jays. So, that's going to be, I think the Pirates we'll get to see what the Pirates really are, who they really are, and where they really stand after these next 2 weeks. So, I think that will be good. But I put them at 4. I put them the lowest, the worst seed. But I mean, still number 4. I don't know if they were in, looking back at our previous rankings, none of us had, oh no. Pete, you had the Pirates at number 4 last week.
Yeah, they started to produce.
Yeah, Casey.
I got to the point where I expect them to win games. Like at the beginning of the season, like, oh, check the scores. Oh, Pirates won. Okay.
Yeah.
And kept doing it. So, the past 2 weeks, like, I've been expecting the Pirates to win games, and they've been producing. So,
yeah,
I'm kind of, showing the Pirates some love.
Yeah. No, I skipped over mine. Pirates. I had Pirates 5.
For you.
Yeah, and then Casey only did top 5. He didn't have them in there. But neither of us, had the Pirates in our top 5 2 weeks ago. But kind of like what you explained is like, sure, they started off really hot, but then they've kept it up, and so we started to put them up there. And so yeah, it's interesting to see, or just like, good. And we talk about it almost every time how we like the Pirates and are pretty much all cheering for them in a way. So that's cool. Why did you guys put? Because both of you, Pete, you have the Blue Jays at 6. Casey, you have them at 7. I have them at number 3. Why do you guys have the Blue Jays that low? Not that it is low, but you guys have them pretty much same spot. I just have them a handful of spots earlier.
So they're 3rd in the division right now to me. They didn't play a ton of great teams last week. Shout out to them. Sorry, Casey. So they moved up 2 spots for me over the last week because they did look better this week, like we talked about last week. when they were playing the Yankees, neither of them looked great, and then the Yankees continue to look great. So them beating up on the Yankees isn't as impressive to me. It's just like I'm not going to put them above the Orioles because the Orioles have a better record in the same division. Obviously, haven't played like the same team, same schedule, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
so I mean, they're third in the division. So and Pirates and Braves have just both been great. Rangers looked more impressive. They dominated the Yankees compared to the Blue Jays, who so it's just like it's not like I'm dissing on the Blue Jays or anything.
Yeah.
I just those other teams have impressed me more than the Blue Jays have.
Fair. Casey?
I mean, like Pete said, I mean, the other teams are more impressive, and like the teams they have beat up aren't off to great starts. And I mean, they went extras twice with the Mariners, who are struggling at home. So like, and lost one of those extra inning games. I don't know. I just don't. The Blue Jays are good, and I think they'll still contend. And I think they'll grow and be a better baseball team. But as of right now, I just don't think they're as high and mighty as like someone would put them.
Yeah. I think for me, for both like the Orioles and then the Pirates, I mean, both those teams have better records than the Blue Jays, but the Blue Jays are in front of both those teams. For me, it was like, granted, especially for the Orioles and the Blue Jays, Orioles are one spot ahead of them in the division, but I believe it's only like a 1-game lead, which is still a lead. But I think, yeah, 1 game. But my biggest thing is the Blue Jays are more, not necessarily more experienced, but they've been there, they're expected to be there, and they're essentially playing to the level expected, which is a high level, if not even exceeding, being 18-10 after Sunday's games. The Orioles were expected to improve from last year, but over the last handful of years, the Orioles have been terrible. So they're exceeding expectations dramatically like this year. And so for me, that's why I still have them up there and still highly ranked. I think I had them at 6. Yeah. But, and same thing with like the Pirates at 4, like have them up there and they have better records, but they're like newer teams, if you will, like don't necessarily have the experience. Pirates haven't played as good of teams, but obviously still deserving of those high spots. That was kind of my reasoning or why I put them there. Same thing with the Brewers. I mean, they're in front of the Orioles, behind the Pirates, but Pirates have that division lead over the Brewers by
That's what I was going to ask you about, because your Brewers are, I mean, Casey's got them a couple spots higher than I do as well, but you got them 3 spots higher than me.
Yeah.
I just wonder what about the Brewers is impressing you so much right now.
I almost feel like the Brewers have been like a sleeper team this year. Like sleeper team in as like there's so many other big stories in the Pirates and the Orioles and the Rays and the like all these other teams that are doing really well. They're 18-10, which is a great record. They're 8 games above 500, 28 games into the season, and only 1.5 games back the Pirates, who are the first team to 20 wins in the NL, second team in all of baseball. Like they're pretty much right there, and the Brewers have played better teams than the Pirates have. And kind of same thing, what I was talking about is the Brewers are also a team that were expected to do well. They're expected to be in second place in this division, just not behind the team they're behind or whatever. And not that that's a knock against them, but like this is kind of where they expected to be. But I think this is even better than, like this record's better than what was expected. So I think they've played better than expected. They've played good teams. They're doing well. Like I feel like they almost have to be there, personally. And to me, like top 5, I don't think there's like anyone else. Like the Orioles would be the only one that I would argue that, but like after the Orioles at 6, I have the Astros, Rangers, Twins, and Mets. I don't think any of those other teams, or like on some of your guys' list, the Marlins, the Dodgers, like, yeah, I don't think any of those other teams are playing better than the Brewers are. Like, I think the Rangers are playing well, but they also struggled a few weeks ago, or like a week ago, and they've started to pick it up again. But, like, the Brewers have just been consistent for pretty much all year. What?
Yeah,
go for it, Casey. What were we going to say?
No, I was just agreeing with you about the Brewers.
I think, not that it surprises me, but you guys both have the Dodgers. Or go for it, Pete.
So let me just bring up why I have the Brewers a little bit lower than some of the other teams. Is they are 5-5 in their last 10.
Yeah,
it's like you talked about. They're 18-10, but they
They've
were
cooled off.
also 13-8. So,
Yeah.
or they were 13-5. Right, that's how that works. Yeah, that's math.
Yeah.
Shout out Utah's education system for once. Yeah, so they were 13-5, and then to be 18-10 is like, again, they're still top 10. I still
Yeah.
think they're doing well, like they're in the top, but they just over the last 10 games, week and a half, have slowed down for me. So that's why they've dropped a little bit for me and aren't in my top 5. Whereas the Rangers, who you mentioned, I mean, I guess Rangers are 5-5, but they just kicked the Yankees' ass. So, that was impressive to me. Astros, I'm not going to put those trash cans anywhere near the top. They stole a World Series title for me, so they can go. Casey played the duck sound for me. They can go themselves. So they're not going to be in my top. Dodgers, like we talked about, they're getting it together. 7-3 in their last 10. They're tied with the division lead now. I think by the time we talk next, they're going to be in the division lead. They dominated the Cardinals this weekend. So it's just kind of like, I mean, the Dodgers are behind the Brewers, but the Brewers just have cooled off a little bit to me. So, I mean, they're still good, still looking really good, still solid, producing, like you said, but just 5-5 in the last 10 is why they're not as high in mine as they are in your guys's.
Yeah. I was curious as well to see, because you guys both have the Dodgers at number 9, and I was going to ask about that, but then it also made me think, granted, the Padres are a game back behind the Dodgers in the division, but the Padres have looked better. I mean, both the Dodgers and Padres are both 7-3 in their last 10 after Sunday's games. But the Padres also just, not that I think they look better than the Dodgers, but they look better than they were, like, comparing to themselves early in the season. So that 7-3, I feel like, is going to continue. Granted, the Dodgers just swept the Cardinals, but I feel like the Dodgers, they weren't demanding in that series, like blowing out the Cardinals, even though the Cardinals have struggled. Like, Saturday game was 1-0, Sunday's game was 6-3. Can't remember what Friday's game was, but all the games were relatively close, and the Cardinals are literally have the third worst record in baseball. So I'm not trying to say the Dodgers are bad because of that, but I'm almost like, if I were to keep going, I would almost consider putting the Padres ahead of the Dodgers, just because I feel like the Padres are going in the right direction. Granted, by record, so are the Dodgers, but I just feel like the Padres look like a better team than the Dodgers right now. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Disagree with me if you will.
No, I mean, I think like the Dodgers, to me, like I it's almost just because out of like a courtesy of they're tied with the division lead for the AL West. I mean, I take a lot of weight into division leads and winners. I think the Diamondbacks are gonna slow down, and the Dodgers and Padres will move in. Now, at this point, could be different in a week from now, where the Dodgers are in sole possession of first place by 2 games or whatnot. I mean, or the Padres move in, like the Dodgers move out, right? Like, I just think the Dodgers are trending. They're like neutral for me, but like if the Padres continue to ball out or the Diamondbacks continue to like improve and get better and take more of the lead of the NL West, then the Dodgers almost like drop off for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers, like you mentioned, they didn't kill the Cardinals, but their pitching has started to look better. Like, they shut out the Cardinals, gave up 3 runs in the other 2 games. And I always expect the Dodgers to do well and produce. So, I mean, it comes down to a lot of expectations for me. That's why I'm kind of thinking. And again, like Casey mentioned, I also, division lead is important to me. And so 7-3, tied for the division now. D-backs are dropping, going the wrong direction. So that's interesting to me. One question for you, because J-Rob, you have the Mets on that me and Casey don't have on. And the Mets, to me, they're 4-6 in their last 10. They got beat the 2 games they did play with the Braves, who's their main competition. So that's why I'm curious why they're in your top, because they haven't looked that great to me. So I'm curious why they made your top 10
for the Mets.
Yeah,
they've struggled, especially the last little bit. I just think the Mets are a kind of same thing with, like I was saying, with like top 5 or like top 6 outside of the Orioles. I honestly, like, outside of top 6, I feel like there's a steady drop off. Like there is like those top 6 teams. I think you could argue maybe not the best team, but almost like 2 through 6, like all, pretty much are 2 through 6 or 1 through 6 are almost all identical. Not exactly identical, but very similar. Um, and there's like a lot of good teams that are up there. For me, like especially at the back end, obviously I have the Mets number 10. Like again, what I was saying with the Dodgers, I don't think the Dodgers are necessarily impressing me. You guys had them at 9. Um, Pete, you had the Marlins at 10 or whatever. I think the Marlins are playing well, but what?
They have one more win. They have one more win than the Mets, and they're 6-4 in their last 10, which isn't great, but
Yeah, better than the Mets in the last 10.
yeah.
There just isn't any team that is like standing out to me. Like the Diamondbacks, I don't have the Diamondbacks on there. So I don't know. The Diamondbacks, you could argue they are tied for the division lead. But I don't know. They're like Angels, Mariners. Like I'm just trying to look at teams that aren't on there. Like I don't think there's anyone in the AL Central I'd put on there. Wouldn't put the Red Sox or Yankees right now. Like I just feel like there's a big gap from the top of the league right now to even the middle, and I don't know. Felt like Mets have the pieces. They also like I think with Scherzer being suspended, they've missed a couple of his starts, and so with him coming back, like that's obviously he's a high caliber pitcher. Like I don't know. Honestly, don't have a great reason for the Mets. I just don't. For me, even
like another replacement team.
Yeah, even the Twins at number 9, I was like, I don't know. They were kind of what you guys were saying because they're like the division leaders. Is kind of why they're in there. But besides that, I mean, and granted they have a winning record, they're playing pretty decent, but they're not even like standing out on the page. Like, yeah, they're playing super well. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's the like top 6 to 7 are like the strong right now, and then the other ones are kind of like who you're feeling, and they're like who you think looks good. But I agree with that sentiment. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah. No.
Watch next week. The Mariners are taking the number 6 lead.
LOL.
I mean, I'd have to have a hell of a run this week to do that, but
yeah. Pete, talk to me about the Marlins. They cracked your top 10. You're the only one that had the Marlins on there.
They did. Like I mean, they have this second most wins in their division right now. They're technically third in the standings just because of percentage-wise. Like I mentioned, the Braves and Mets had 2 games canceled. I personally think the Braves would have at least 3-1 or maybe swept the Mets just because of the way that it was looking, how things were going. They shut them out in the 2 games they did play, just dominated them. So I think the Mets would be looking even worse right now. Like I mentioned, Marlins are 6-4. And again, this was kind of like I also mentioned at the top when I was reading it. I don't know if the Marlins are going to stay around for all season. So
yeah.
I kind of wanted to give them their shine a little bit because they are performing above expected. And that's cool to see to me. So it's like, we got a moment right now. I don't really have like a 10th team that's like after the top 6 is kind of like, nothing special. So it's kind of like, well, let me give the Marlins a moment to shine. They technically have the second most wins in their division, just behind on percentage points because of the postponed games. So it's like, they're doing good. 6-4. Phillies are 7-3 right now, so I'm guessing the Phillies will pass them by next week and all that kind of stuff. So it's more of a like, let's give the Marlins a little shine.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about Alcantara this season earlier on one of the pods. Don't know if we're going to talk about the Marlins again for the other 130 games, depending on what happens. So it's kind of like
it was their opportunity.
Exactly. Give them some shine. Give them some love.
Yeah. Is there any teams that you guys felt like they didn't make your top 10, but they're playing really well? Kind of like, I mean, the Marlins did make your top 10, Pete, but they're playing well and like maybe if they continue on, could potentially crack your top 10 next week. Is there any teams that you guys can think of? Wow. You're going to say they've been playing well?
Yeah.
4-6 in their last 10.
They're playing professional baseball. I mean, they're a sanctioned MLB team. I don't know. And they went to extras twice in Toronto with what I have them number. Oh, I didn't remember what I had them at either.
Who, Toronto? Yeah, Toronto at number 7.
Yeah, so they went extras twice in Toronto with number 7 power rankings. So
Okay. I think that's a homer take, as Pete would say,
That's
but sure.
And a homer take.
If Pete, you're saying the Phillies?
Phillies and Padres.
Phillies and
Won't
Padres.
shock me if
Cubs.
both of them are in my top 10 next week.
Cubs are
They're
3 and
both
7 in their last
7-3 in
10.
their last 10. They're both looking better. Phillies at some point are going to get Harper back. Padres are kind of getting it together. When Tatis has come in, they've been looking better, getting the lineup set. And they did play the game in Mexico where they scored 16 runs, which helped them score a bunch of runs this weekend. But yeah, Phillies and Padres will be 0% surprising if they're in my top 10 next week.
Yeah, I 100% agree. With both those teams are on mine. I think Phillies, yes, but I think Padres. Like if I had to pick one team in my top 10 next week, just what I think will happen: Padres, number 2, Phillies, number 3, Cardinals. LOL, that was a joke. Had to get it in there. I mean, Casey throws it in all the time. Had to get it in there.
You had to out homer Casey. That's a pod first. This is the story.
That was a joke. That was a joke. But literally the same reasons for what you're saying. And I think that's something we could talk a whole episode on, is like the Phillies and then Bryce Harper. More Bryce Harper, and just essentially has Tommy Johns and is coming back in like record time. Granted, he's not a pitcher, but I don't know. It'll be exciting. The Phillies got off to a terrible start, and they're playing a lot better. So, yeah, wouldn't surprise me if they're in top 10. Padres have just looked really good, and it wouldn't surprise me if Padres are number 1 in the division next week. So we'll see. Casey, do you have any, like a serious take outside of the Mariners or number 2?
No, I rest my case.
Rest his case with the Mariners. Beautiful. All right.
I have a crack at Peter's performing player.
Okay.
I have my guess.
Okay, what's your guess?
They're singing, go, Cubs, go! Go, Cubs, go!
Cody Bellinger.
She's like, you know why you guessed Cody Bellinger? Literally so he could play that song.
Just
Literally
had to
the
sneak that
only
in.
reason.
I was like, what? Okay, Jared, do you want to guess? Or
No.
I'll give you a hint. It's a strong friend of the pod.
Strong friend of the pod.
Cody Bellinger is a friend of the pod.
Shohei
It's
Ohtani.
Cody Bellinger. Yeah, there you go. Shohei Bellinger
Ohtani.
is a friend of the pod as well.
Wow.
But Shohei probably has by far the
Pete
most
being
mentions
the
now.
Shohei honk again.
You've got
course.
to give Shohei his
The
love.
man was on pace for a perfect game and hitting for the cycle. Didn't
Yeah.
complete either of them, but that's just disgusting.
Deep into the
That's
game,
disgusting.
it was on pace for both. Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Barely missed the cycle and then hit an absolute bomb today. Sorry, piss missile. That's the phrase we use here.
Yeah,
Hit
get
a
that right.
piss missile, and it blows my mind. Perfect game and cycle. Both, I think there's 26, 27 perfect games in MLB history.
Yeah.
Crazy numbers. Cycles are
Shout
very
out King
rare.
Felix.
Shout out King Felix. Last one in 2012. So it's been 11 years, and it's that's just disgusting to me. So shout out Shohei.
Yeah, that's incredible.
We need to get a Shohei sound effect. That'd be better
We
than
do.
Go Cubs Go. But
No.
yeah, it's just
that's a staple of our pod.
So
Yeah,
there have
man.
been 23 perfect games ever
3
thrown,
perfect games.
and then occurred it's 340 times if someone hit for the cycle, which 340 is a big number, but also this game's been going on for 150 years, so not really that big of a number.
62 games a year.
Yeah, with nine hitters every the percentage is insanely small. But there was a question, I don't know if we posted this on social media. I don't think we do, so we might have to steal this, but if we did, great. But there was a poll that was, is it harder to, it might have actually been ours, I don't know which one of you did it. Is it harder?
Yeah, I had to pull up.
You did?
I did because I was curious what people's thoughts were.
Was it perfect game or no hitter?
No hitter.
So is it harder to pitch a no hitter or hit for the cycle? Casey, you go first. Is it
It's harder. I'm gonna say hit for the cycle.
Hit for the cycle? Peter, I'm pretty sure I remember I looked and saw your vote. So, but what do you say?
No hitter,
No hitter.
because I was opposite you guys.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the numbers super quick. So I would say cycle. There's been 318 no hitters compared to what was it, 320 or 340 cycles.
And I also just think in today's day and age, like pitchers don't even throw 9 innings anymore.
That's true.
So to throw, because there's been a couple combined no hitters recently,
Yeah.
and I mean there's
That's-
been freaking
Yeah.
Kluber no hit the Yankees a year or two ago now.
Yeah.
So I just think that pitchers pitching all 9 innings is already rare, let alone going with. Yeah, I would agree with that statement. But yeah, let alone no hit a team, like especially with how good offense is in today's day and age. So,
Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, yeah, you could argue either way, because both of those are like extremely rare, and how many times do those things happen, like for any team or any player throughout a single season? Like maybe once or twice in your, I don't know, in a career. Because also the thing is, I don't know, just the only thing was a cycle. Sure, any hitter can do it, but I think the hardest thing to do in Major League not the hardest thing, but from a hitting standpoint, is hit for a triple. Because if you're freaking Bartolo Colon, when pitchers still hit, there's no way that man ever got a triple. I don't care if it was.
I hope he did.
Me too. Me too. But like,
I love Bartolo. Shout out friend of the pod, Bartolo.
Even if he was a hitter, if he ever got a triple, did he ever get any other hits in that game? I know he hit home runs. I'm sure he had singles and doubles, but like all in one game for that player. Granted, that's one player. I'm sure, like, what's it, Brandon Carroll, or what's his first name for Arizona?
Corbin Carroll?
Corbin Carroll, there it is. I was close. B, C, second and third letter in the alphabet. He's wicked fast, so I'm sure he'll hit for a cycle at some point. But I don't know. I thought that was just cool. Good pull. But do you guys have anything else? Any other comments on Shohei Ohtani?
Yeah, this is Pete when I tell him that liking Shohei is bad.
What is that? Oh, when Chris Bassett slams that down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Everyone likes Shohei. You like
Yeah.
Shohei too. I
Yeah,
don't understand how that would be.
That was
I'm just not. I like Shohei, but I'm not a Shohei honk like you.
Yeah. All right.
I
Well,
mean, the man is literally historic. We can argue about this South Pod.
yeah. Yeah. Let's do that. Casey, last words.
They're singing, go, Cubs, go! Go, Cubs, go!
And go M's.
Okay, Peter.
Chase for 28 and DFA Aaron Hicks.
Boom. I'm going to mix things up a little bit for myself. And I'm going to say, because pretty much the whole time we've been recording, I have not been giving my team the love it deserves at the end of the episode. So I'm going to say, let's go Cardinals. Let's go Birds on the bat. And this is going to be the thing to turn the Birds around. I've been at the steering wheel and I've been driving in neutral. I've been driving them to no man's land. I need to take the blindfold off, and I'm taking them to the promised land by saying, let's go Cardinals. That's what's going to be that change. Let's get it,
I can
baby.
run through a brick wall now.
Yeah, let's go, baby. But anyways, we appreciate you guys checking us out, listening to the Broken Bat podcast. If you guys like what you hear, hit that follow button on whatever platform you're listening on, and then look us up on the socials and interact with us there. We do currently have some polls going. We usually have at least one poll going almost all the time, or at least once at any given point in the day. So hit us up. We appreciate you guys again, and you have a great rest of your day.